Welcome back to Africa 54. Today we have two interviews with African presidents. Here is Africa 54's Ndimiake Mokelieli to tell us about the leader of Africa's most populous nation. Dimi?
Thank you, Vincent. Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan says his administration is aggressively ruling out corruption in the West African nation. In part one of an exclusive interview with VOA's Peter Clotty, President Jonathan also outlined his government's fight against the Al-Qaeda-linked militant group Boko Haram, which is wreaking havoc in northern Nigeria and other parts of Africa.
The issue of corruption in Nigeria is even beyond my administration. The feeling is that Nigeria, the country where there's a lot of corruption, that is the perception. People use different yardsticks to measure. I don't know exactly how. I'm not denying the fact about issues of corruption, but I can only tell you that as a government, we are addressing it aggressively.
There has been an issue of security. You issued an order to ensure that the security agencies would deal decisively with Boko Haram. It has been a menace, not only in Nigeria, but the entire West African sub-region. How are you addressing this problem? And I also recently heard that the U.S. government has made efforts to coordinate with you to resolve that problem. What is the relationship between Abuja and Washington in resolving this problem?
The issue of security is worrisome all over the world, especially in Africa and some parts of Asia. It was not that way before. Look at what is happening in Syria, look at what is happening in Egypt, Afghanistan, Boko Haram in Nigeria, just yesterday about Kenya. Of course, we are not talking about Somalia. Ethiopia has been suffering from terror for a long time. Uganda had a little, so, of course, Libya. All these incidents are fairly recent. So it's affecting everybody. And probably we may zero down on the issue of terror. But if we don't handle it quickly now and contain this terror in North Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa, and East Africa, definitely it will move down to South Africa. And we believe, and I always say so, that a terror attack on anywhere on the surface of the earth is a terror attack on all of us. And the world must come together to fight terror. And nobody should use any excuse to defend terror. But basically, we will fight terror. You asked about our links with Washington. I have an appointment with the President Obama, and I believe one of these key areas we'll discuss is this issue of terror in Nigeria. They have been helping. Other countries have been helping us. But we need more and more robust assistance, because if we allow it and we don't apply the force we need to apply now, and we just treat it with kid gloves, then it will continue to expand. The best thing is like a surgical operation, is to do it clinically and make sure that we stop the spread. Look at what has happened in Kenya.
What would you say that your administration has implemented to improve the life of the ordinary Nigerian?
If you follow our programs, you know that a number of things have been done. First and foremost, probably I'll go to the area of food, because that is key. And that is one area that can also generate jobs and improve on the rural economy of our country. And people come to me and say, look, Mr. President, give us waiver for us to bring rice into the country, because there will be major starvation. Ask the Agric Minister, do I allow people to bring in rice? Say no. We are going to produce rice. We are going to go into dry season rice production. We have some reserves, and we don't need to. We have made people to invest in rice. And we did not give any waiver for 1 grain of rice to be imported into the country. After the flood, though it was devastating, there was no shortage of grains in this country. You know. It did not just happen. People are working.
That was VOA's Peter Clotty talking with Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan. Tomorrow we'll have part 2 of the interview with President Jonathan.
Welcome back to Africa 54. In part 2 of our interview with Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, VOA's Peter Clotty asked the president about his legacy ahead of the country's 2015 general election.
In the first place, I want people to know that within the period I've served this country, that I meant well for Nigerians. I did not serve because of my own personal interest or because I want to create some people around me as multi-millionaires or billionaires, but that I meant well for Nigeria, first and foremost, that I have the interests of this country at heart. The second thing is that in terms of the economy, that we have been able to stabilize and we are not degenerating. And looking at the various parameters, power, we should be able to stabilize power. Just like, to some extent, telecom has been relatively stabilized, even though we have issues about charges and poor performance at power. We're able to bring agri back to where it was before. Those are aspects of diversifying economy. That is, in terms of the economy, that we have shifted Nigeria out of this mono economy, where everything begins and ends with petrol, and that other aspects, agriculture, mines, solid mineral, and even manufacturing are playing key role in our economy. And that the issue of youth employment is a problem globally, but that it has been addressed and that we are progressing satisfactorily.
Ahead of the 2015 election, what would you want your legacy to be in terms of employment for the youth, in terms of improved living conditions, and how people view you as a president?
One thing I pray is that before I leave, that we have stabilized the security issues in the country reasonably well. It's a big challenge, you know, we have. But one thing that I also want to leave behind is that elections in Nigeria are credible, that Nigerians should be able to vote who they want, not somebody hiring boys and weapons and shoot themselves into offices or buy themselves into offices, but that the votes of Nigerians matter and that the world should know that our method of electing those who govern us, either as executive, at the executive level as governors, chairmen of local governments or presidents, or at the parliamentary level, that they are duly elected by their people.
Some West African countries have been going through a lot of problems, democracy, coup d'etats and all that. You have been the chairman of the ECOWAS Commission. When you meet your fellow heads of state, what do you talk about? How do you intend to address this problem?
No, that is an area you should commend. In fact, you should commend the heads of states and government of West Africa. You should really commend us. Because within this period, I've been the president from when I took over from my late president till date. You've seen that those countries where the issue of unconstitutional governance came up through military coup or things close to that, because of ECOWAS' position, we've been able to make sure that they don't stay long and we conduct election very, very quickly, unlike before. Take the case of Niger Republic. Immediately the coup came up, we knew it was coming. We persuaded our colleague then not to try to perpetuate himself. But he went ahead to perpetuate himself by amending the constitution, and the military was struck. But we said that yes, no, but you cannot stay long. We placed pressure on them, and they did not stay long, you know. Look at the case of Mali. When the military struck in Mali, in fact, we had a meeting, ECOWAS meeting. The first sets of states were to go. They couldn't even land. I didn't go with them, but they couldn't land. We never knew that Mali's situation would even be solved so quickly. But today, we just came back from Mali, I think on Thursday, for the formal inauguration of an elected president.
Well, that was VOA's Peter Clotty speaking with Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan.